Hi, I'm Garrett Ford from Easy Care,
And I'm Curtis Burns with Polyflex Horseshoes.
and today we're going to talk to you about two new products we're about to introduce, the Easy Shoe Flex and the Easyboot Stratus. So we're going to talk about the Easyboot Stratus and how it came to be. And so Curtis and I have been working together on a lot of different shoes. We brought the Easy Shoe to market together, and I was starting to really get excited about a better version of a therapy boot. I came to Curtis and wanted him to be involved in a boot, and Curtis said, I'm not really sure I want to get involved with it, but if we do, I'd love to be involved with a therapy boot. So at that point I said, well, why don't you work on a really robust pad that's unique and different, and if you can accomplish that, I'll work on the boot. So I put a challenge out to Curtis with pad, and Curtis came back quick and with a really neat concept. So Curtis, explain the pad to us.
All right. The pad that was existing in the cloud was a great pad. It would kind of break in and actually conform to the individual horse. The downside was that it had, according to the horse and how heavy he was and how hard he was on himself, the pad had sort of a shorter lifespan. It would get thinner and thinner, and then you'd have to put a new one in. And some of the horses that were bad laminitic horses and stuff, having those changes it was really tough on them. Having to go through a few days of that pad breaking back in to conform to the foot, and then at some point getting too wafer thin where it wasn't doing its job, and then again having to go through the cycle again. So my goal was to be able to come up with a pad that I could make a density that worked well, but would stay consistent for a longer period of time for some of these horses that end up living in the boot. As I started playing with different urethanes, I was coming up with some that I really liked, but the downside was they were quite heavy. So the idea of the holes originally was to try to lighten this pad up as much as I could. And as I went along, we started playing around with different ideas about filling these holes to create different densities in the pad by adding these different density rods into the pad. As you can see right here that we did on this one, basically is over the frog area, is this pad becomes a lot more dense in that area and remains soft around the outer edges. And you could do this in different parts of the hoof capsule at the solar plane of it. So it ended up being a lot better idea than just lightening it up. So I'm pretty excited about where we're going with it. Something that Garrett brought to the plate is that one of the things about these horses that live in these boots long term is a lot of times the moisture content that we fight with inside these boots. So he was able to come up with a fabric that's been able to hold up really well long term as well, and that helps wick some of that moisture away, and has done really good. It's been a big additive to the first prototypes that we made of this pad. So.
Right. Another thing we've done is, one of the nice things about this fabric is you can add different compounds to it or powders that will help soak into the foot. The other really unique thing about this pad is it's super resilient to tearing. I had one of the early versions I used as a frisbee for my border collie, and after 2 months I looked at the pad and there was no tearing in it. So it really holds up well, super strong, and I think we're going to really help a lot of horses with it.
I do too.
So each Easyboot Stratus is going to come with a boot, TheraPad, and 15 Thera rods, 5 in each color. The colors are for different densities. The blue is the softest density, the green is middle, and pink is the hardest. And so what the rods are for is to insert in the pad and create different densities and hardnesses in the pad. So they're really easy to insert. Best way to cut them off is with a small set of nippers. So insert the pad or insert the rod, cut it off, insert again, cut it off, insert again. And what we're trying to do is we're just trying to add different configurations in the pad. So for example, here we've added a frog pattern. This is going to create more density in the frog area. It'll still be nice and soft on all other parts of the pad.
So one of the cool parts of this idea with the holes is these holes can deform, and what they'll do is under pressure, these walls end up closing up under pressure, and once they meet each other, they become more stabilized. So I put them in a vise, and as you close it, you can see how, as it closes, how they meet up, and once that happens, they become more stable. So it creates a bit more of a feedback than just having a solid pad. So the holes have a lot of input as far as the ability to add these rods that you'll see next, to be able to create the different densities, and also just the way that the pad is going to compress and have memory to it. Okay. And now that we've actually put one of the inserts in that hole, you can see the difference is when we close, how it doesn't disform. See the difference there? Okay.
All right, with the Easyboot Stratus, what we've done on this product is we've chosen leather for the upper. And a lot of people have asked us why leather. And we've chosen leather after testing a lot of materials. We had a lot of laminitic and founder cases in Florida that where we were testing different types of material on the whole boot, and then we started actually taking the front and separating materials from the back to see what would work better. Curtis had a case here in Florida on a horse named Chubby who was struggling for his life, that was in and out of boots every day. He was in a new pair of boots, we'd wash him, and then he would be in the next pair the next day, and then we'd rotate him. So Curtis has a boot that Chubby wore for months, and this kind of will show why we chose leather.
Yeah, this is one of his boots, and this is really what was a game changer for us. Is we've seen how durable and how well the front was at holding up for us, and the back how beat up, and it was just breaking down over time. And the fortunate thing here, as Garrett mentioned earlier, is we were able to swap boots with this horse every day. And this boot actually was with him for almost a year. And obviously it was probably worn a half a year because he only wore it every other day. But the cool part of it is just how I was able to kind of conform and break down. And I don't know if you can kind of see that when I push the tongue down, how it would kind of conform to the foot really well on the pastern angle. And then with the back, it was really working really well for him. It was the best scenario we had, but as we seen that the back breaking down like this, we started doing some different things, trying to see what we could do to get that to last longer and do better. And Garrett actually did a great job on his end, and maybe you can go ahead and describe that a little bit, what you did with the back end of that boot.
Okay. Another challenge with therapy boots is twisting. And therapy boots are prone to twisting. Horses are doing a lot of twisting on their front end. There's a lot of laying down, getting up. So boots have a tendency to twist. So what we did is when you look at the boot from the back, you'll notice a strap system that looks like it just disappears in the boot. But what's actually happening, we have a cutout here, and this really shows you what's happening internally. This strap comes down and through the middle of the heel bulbs, and what this does is this is locking down the heel, and it's also preventing twists. So this boot isn't even on very snug, and what happens is you can rotate to a certain point and the boot won't rotate anymore. This material, this strap system in here, it's actually laying between two layers of material. So we have the leather in the back, and we have a neoprene, a soft neoprene inside. It's also a really neat feature because the horses, there's really nothing to rub. This is really soft and supple, and that strap system sits in between it. So it's nice and protected. The other thing that's really nice about the Stratus is that you can really fold the back of the boot backwards. This allows you to take a hoof, put it in very easily, and they're super easy to fit.
Okay, one of the other things that's been kind of neat that we'd worked on in the past for the therapy boots also is what we call the click bottom. And the current models that are on the market are these here that I have in my hands. And what they are is, you can see the difference in them. One's a 5-degree wedge and the other is a 10. And what they do is they have a grid pattern that's able to marry up to the bottom of the boot. And then with 4 screws, you're able to put them in, and they hold really well. What was the kind of a downside of it is that you had to have both of them to find out maybe which one was the better one for your horse. Sometimes a few degrees can really make a big difference for your horse. So we've been working on a newer system, and as an option to our existing click bottoms, we've been thinking about changing up to a new one that again has the tread pattern that marries up to the bottom of the boot, and then you'll have the 4 screws that go in. But after that, what we do is we have 2 different wedges that are able to go onto the boot and are very quickly interchangeable from 5 to a 10 degree. And with a matter of just a minute or 2 of changing those out, you can find out which one your horse is more comfortable. It's amazing how just a few degrees can make a big difference in the comfort level of some of these horses. There's a couple things about this that I worked on, is that I hollowed out some areas in here to try to make them as light as possible. I honestly believe on a lot of these compromised horses that weight is a big issue. The lighter we can keep these systems, I think the better it is for the horses. And also there's a little bit more meat on the bone on this here click bottom, so there's a few more modifications that could be done to it to be able to roll the heels or the edges or anything like that to give some more mechanics if need be. There's one other option that we're working on, and this here is a swivel plate with a bearing in it. And this here is actually will come this way, and what you have to do if you want to use it is actually it glues into this pocket. And once that's secured, you can actually put this horse on that, and the boot will swivel. The amazing part of this is as much as that and as easy as that spins, you would think, would it be slippery for the horse to walk on? And quite the opposite. The horses actually walk very comfortably on different surfaces. There's some kind of good mechanics that go along with this, is because it's kind of centered in the foot, is it sort of acts almost like a clog on them, to where you're able to have mechanics in every breakover direction. And I really think one of the big possibilities for this product here is post-op after surgery. Putting this on the good leg. So many of these horses are lost to counterlateral laminitis, and about the time that the leg that's had surgery and was hurt is about to go back to work and can start to bear weight, the other one's been taking such a brunt of the weight and trauma over that time period that we end up losing the horses. And that's just heart-wrenching to have seen a horse to go through all the pain and suffering to get to the other side of an injury, and then you end up losing them to laminitis just about the time that they're coming around. So I'm really thinking that this is a possibility for this product, and I think we can save some horses with using this. So today was great having Garrett visit us here in Wellington, Florida at Polyflex Horseshoe headquarters. And we had a great time going out in the field today, doing a little testing, trying to put some things together to give you guys some information about the new products that are coming along. And
Yep. Well, we hope you guys will enjoy the new products. They'll be out soon, and thanks for listening.